Warning, this podcast contains bad words and stories about drugs and sex and overthrowing the government. Proceed with caution. Thank you. And now on to our show. Wake up, brother, we got nothing to do. Let's go outside, just me and you, and build a fort. We'll pack a lunch, won't be home till after dark. Then after dinner we can sneak back out. You know that high school girl I've been telling you about? Well, she gets undressed about 8:45, and we can watch her do it from the big old pine next door. She got a room on the second floor. Well, looks like another fucked up day in paradise. Okay, here we go, right? Rolling. Let's just down a bit. It's episode 150, divisible by 3 and 5 and 10. 150. Hang on, I'm pulling out of the parking lot here. And while I'm pulling out of the parking lot, I'm also eating a chocolate ice cream bar. It's my third. They say it's good for healing bones. 9 out of 10 ice cream eaters. 9 out of 10 doctors who like ice cream recommend eating ice cream, non-dairy ice cream, for bone healing. Daughter of Godcast, episode 150, Napkin, which is what I don't have right now. I don't have a napkin. And so I got to eat this thing carefully without it dripping on me. And I'll have to use like the sleeve of my shirt to clean up my beard when I'm done. But that's not why I want to talk about napkins. It's not why this episode is titled Napkins. I mean, it could be. There certainly could be a reason why this episode is titled Napkins, but I don't think it's the reason I originally titled this Napkins. No, I'll tell you what the title originally meant. Like, you think about a cafe, right? And in that cafe, some cool people, some visual thinkers, some creative dudes and cats, kittens, some artists. And maybe they forgot to bring their sketchbook or their iPad, and all they've got are napkins. Back in the day, the napkin reigned supreme in the cafe as the visual device. Yeah, the visual interface to convey ideas and to formulate stuff. Well, so napkins, and then you actually add a Sharpie or maybe a pencil. And so what I'm going to do with this episode is we're going to do an audio napkin. And while we're driving home, we're going to have a little brainstormy sort of session. I'll sketch out an idea for you. And yeah. So now if I can reach over here, do this, I think. There we go. So I've been talking about sloppy overlap, which is basically, I had this before I broke my arm. I had this fantasy of a clearly sequenced bunch of projects. One would end and another would start, and then that one would end and another would start. There wouldn't be a lot of overlap, because then what you're doing, if you're overlapping projects, if you're getting the multitasking cognition degrading your cognition by multitasking. Maybe women can do it. Maybe women are wired differently because they're women. but supposedly it's very dangerous for men to multitask because they could sprain their brain, and then they have to go to the hospital and have a brain replacement. Or if they can't afford that operation, then they just kind of molder away and play video games and watch old reruns of Gunsmoke or whatever. All right, so hang on, let's see if I can actually pull out into traffic without dying here. That's a little too risky. Let's back up a little bit. Here comes something. Let's back a little bit. Hang on. And we got a window here, I think, maybe. We may have to go through the hospital, I think, at this point. It doesn't look good. It just doesn't look good. Give it a sec. Give it a sec. We'll wait for a second. Okay, got out of the window. Here we go. Here we go. Maybe. 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 Maybe not. Maybe. We got this. This guy just let us in. 5, 4, 3, 2. All right, we got it. We got it. Whoa, yeah, baby. Here we go. All right. Now we're heading in the right direction. I'm having an erection. I mean, head in the right direction. Okay, so sloppy overlap. This idea of a nicely sequenced series of projects. Fuck it, it's gone. It's over with. All we've got now is like this crazy sloppy overlap. Which we decided in the last episode 149, that we would embrace the sloppy overlap. And because things are happening. Things are happening. You know, what plan can I make that could possibly be as good as what the universe will put together for me if I just fucking kick back and let it happen? I mean, I like planning. It's fun. But there comes a time in all men's lives when they just got to stop planning and let it happen. Okay? Just chill out. Yeah. So let's talk about just one of the projects that's starting a little sooner than I thought it would, and now it's kind of ramping up really quickly, and I just have to deal with it. Okay, I can't really, I'm either gonna act on it or the opportunity's gonna slip away, and it's like, I got this great opportunity, let's just move on it while I'm doing the 10,000 other things that are almost done or starting to be done or in the middle, or blah, 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 blah. Okay, so what is this thing? I was renting some buildings, and I recently acquired the buildings in the land that they're on. I own them now. So I was using those buildings for fabrication of props and miniatures, and I had a little studio, photography studio there. And now I own those buildings, and I own the land that's on them. So the question then becomes, should I start a movie studio? Because what do you need? You know, what excuse me, you can go and have an idea, and you can rent equipment and hire actors, and you can bring your idea to reality, or you could have an idea and own equipment and still hire actors, or maybe you are yourself an actor. You have a team of actors, but you still might need to go and rent locations, and you know, if you can't find stuff for free, or you go and this is a big deal. You go and you rent all kinds of stuff. You rent sound stages, and you rent locations, and then you travel to those faraway locations. There may be someplace very far away, and you hang out in those locations and you shoot your movie, blah, blah. Well, there's also the possibility of owning property where you could keep stuff, you know, where like a place to keep things, infrastructure, storage. You could keep production gear there, fabrication tools, props and costumes, and maybe even some sets. You could have a stage for a sound stage, or for VFX, or for Foley, and then you don't have to necessarily think about renting those places if you have the space already to deploy that kind of movie making resources, those movie-making resources, well, that might be interesting. And that could basically blur into an actual movie studio where there's a lot of space and resources dedicated to just making movies. I mean, not that it couldn't be multi-use, not that you couldn't do other things in those spaces, but it's kind of leaning towards cinema creation most of the time. And I'm thinking about that. I am thinking about that because suddenly the land is mine, and I have people showing up who want to help make it happen. And I've got the opportunity to bring those people on board and get things to happen. I'm just going to reach back here and see if I can find one more ice cream bar for myself. Maybe I can wait a little bit on that. But ice cream bars also, besides being good for healing of bones, according to 9 out of 10 ice cream loving doctors, it's also good for thinking while driving, eating chocolate ice cream on a stick. I don't know why that is, but it's just true. It's just one of the things that's true about being human on planet Earth, at least in North America, or maybe at least in Michigan. Maybe it's just me, I don't know, but it's true for me, for sure, right now, at this time. So I will stop and get my last ice cream bar out and eat it. And so, why have a movie studio? Why have one? You know, it's kind of one of these sort of, you balance it out a little bit because you've got the expense of the land and the buildings and the electricity and not only acquiring stuff, but then keeping track of it. You know, if you've got a lot of tools, what tools do you have? Are you supposed to remember all the tools you have, or can you somehow have something that remembers the tools for you? So when you say, I want to build this, a little gremlin pops up and says, well, Mr. Kelly, you own this and that and this hero and this other thing, and it'll all be helpful to you. That, you know, how does that happen? Who are the gremlins? Excuse me, do you make gremlins out of software? Do you ask people to take on that role for you, other people? Or do you just depend on your own brain? I don't really think that I want to use my own brain for that, because it feels like that's just a lot of clutter in my brain. But then again, I have to remember that I have tools to some degree, or otherwise I'll just, you know, be walking around buying the same hammer over and over again. 2,000 hammers I could have in my life because I forgot I had one to start with, and then I forgot I had two. Can't see if I can reach this. We're at a stoplight, so I'm just going to reach back here, see if I can find myself the box with the chocolate bar. And oh yeah, here we go. So, you got to balance the expense of owning stuff with the expense that you might incur if you wanted to rent stuff, get access to stuff, borrow stuff. I mean, for me, if I'm going to talk about the kind of person I am, I do feel excited about owning some infrastructure, having some resources at hand, because then you can just take action. You don't have to like sign agreements or do research or negotiate. But then there's this other part of it. It's like, well, if I'm a movie maker and I look around and I'm going to make movies with what's at hand, is that kind of a in some sense a handicap, because I'm always trying to make movies with what I have, which is a way, it could be considered a way of lowering your sights, of being less ambitious, having smaller dreams, because you're always trying to make something with what's at hand, out of what you have at hand, instead of dreaming of going to Acapulco to have your movie happen along the cliff diving cliffs of Acapulco, or whatever, or inside an old Soviet depleted uranium factory. You know, I mean, having a location, something that might actually be a curtailing of imagination. Of course, it won't be because I'm amazing. No, we're just talking here. We got our napkin out. We're sketching on the napkin together. Napkin sketching. Yeah, and the kind of person I am, I like the idea of having resources. I like the idea of having tools. I like the idea of being able to put my hands into the clay and mushing the clay around. If you don't have any clay, then you don't get that nice feedback of your fingers gushing clay. Yeah. And I could spend 5 seconds mourning the fact, bemoaning the fact that this is coming too soon. It's coming too soon in the sequence. It was supposed to be far down the sequence here. I was supposed to finish this movie, Daughter of God, and then to come out my studio. Maybe even do 1 or 2 shorts before I thought about my studio. But it's happening now. The land is here. People are here wanting to help. So it's like, okay, I can divert a little bit of energy to that while staying the course on the things that I really, really am excited to finish and that are damn close to being finished. I just wanted to let you know that. I mean, in a way, it's kind of silly because it's super exciting, right? I mean, a movie studio. I have the possibility of creating a movie studio within the next 2 or 3 months. And maybe it would even be a place where other filmmakers would want to do projects. The other thing about a movie studio that comes up is I haven't yet finished my first feature film, and I'm already thinking about launching a movie studio or building a movie studio. And really, really, is that okay? Of course it's okay, and it's exciting. And I mean, if you have bliss, well, what part of that bliss aren't you gonna explore, right? I mean, so okay, it's okay, but it is a little bit scary, I suppose, or I guess when I want to just acknowledge there's some what would I call it? Insecurity there. And look, it's okay to have some insecurity. It's okay to acknowledge that there's some insecurity or some fear. I mean, there's nothing wrong with all emotions. All emotions are super, super cool. It's not necessarily having fear. It's what we do with the fear once we feel it. What are we going to do with that fear? And so, yeah, okay, but I just want to acknowledge, there it is. Starting a movie studio before finishing your first feature. Fine. So anyway, that's just one other thing. One of the things that's in my crazy, sloppy overlap scenario that I'm embracing. As I mentioned in episode 149, I'm embracing sloppy overlap now. Okay. And I'm not going to fret about the fact that there might be, in the old way of thinking, too many things going on at the same time. If this is what the universe thinks is appropriate and wants to drop in my lap, well then okay. Who am I to chafe, to buck, to feel anything but bliss and appreciation for what's coming faster than I was anticipating? Well, aren't things showing up pronto, manifesting quickly? Isn't that good? Isn't that a good thing? Isn't that really what I want? Even though it seems a little like, whoa, of course. I actually want to have the experience of, oh my goodness. I want to have that experience. That's like, yeah, You ask for it, you got it, brother. Here it comes, bam, boom, 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 boom. All you do is just gotta ask and let it come, and it will show up. And I guess I have to admit, I'm kind of not used to having abundance like this happening in my life. And it's a pretty cool thing to have to get used to abundance. To be like, all right, here it is. This is excellence, and I asked for excellence, and I'm getting it. And just didn't, part of me is like, well, it's not really real. It's not going to happen like that so quickly, or at all ever. But then it happens. So come on. I'm living this philosophy. I'm following the ways of ease and allowance. I'm practicing. I'm becoming an adept at the art of allowance. And I guess I better keep up with myself and say, okay, things are going to happen quickly and intensely, and my dreams are going to come true. And isn't this exactly what I want? Aren't all these cool things happening exactly what I've been asking for? And maybe it's coming in a form that's a little bit less of what I thought, but not less. It's different than I thought it would be, and maybe way better than I thought, than I had projected it, than I had seen it myself. It's maybe even better if I just relax, and let it flower, let its fullness reveal itself to me. How fantastic it all is. Yes. And so we're going to be podcasting from the studio. As the studio comes together, we'll be showing that happening. And so what happens in the meantime between now and next week and the week after that? What's the plan exactly, Dan Kelly? Well, first of all, plans are made to be discarded, as we're learning here. Plans are made to be abandoned, because the universe might have something way more elegant to offer us. So, but we'll play with it. Okay, so we got this financial stuff. We're really on the edge of having that be done. And our guests, we've basically run out of guests for a little while. That's a given. So guests are going away. And maybe, as I mentioned in episode 149, maybe I'm going to New York to have my Chinese bone setter set my clavicle. Or maybe I'm staying here to have a Western doctor do it for $16,000. $16,000. Yes, I do not have Obamacare. And if I had paid, the way I look at it, I probably would have paid like $15,000 in insurance premiums this year. And so I ended up, after this accident, if I put it all together, if I actually got this surgery, I would have ended up spending 20 grand. 5,000 in the emergency room and 16,000 in the frickin' operating theater. And then probably another 2,000 or 3,000 later on, when I wanted, like a year from now, when I wanted all the metal pulled out of my body, all the titanium or whatever it is. I don't know how much it would be. It'd be a lot, probably. So there's that to add into the mix. But okay, but let's just put that aside for now. That fits in there somewhere. There's some kind of either a trip to New York for bone setting with the Chinese doctor, or a Monday operation. And imagining what else? Not imagining, but okay, those are there. Boom, one of those two things is going to happen. Maybe both of those things are going to happen, not simultaneously, but whatever. Definitely one of those two things will happen. But what about the movie, Dan Kelly? What about this whole crazy scheme of creation? This realization that you're having of your the depth of your power that's coming on so strong. So many things are falling into place effortlessly for you, Dan Kelly, right now. What about that? Well, so we got these financials. We could wrap those. Still the same thing. I really would like to get those financial things. I'd like to get that done. I'd love to get that done. That would be like huge milestone. Bam. And also, I kind of feel like falling off the skateboard was a sort of like a little bit of a gauntlet, throwing the gauntlet down. It's like, are you really going to finish all this? Are you really going to? And so the gauntlet was thrown down, and what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to just sort of wither away and say, my arm is broken, I can't do anything, or am I gonna be like, yeah, man, okay, my arm is broken, awesome, how much fun can I have doing all this crazy shit with my arm broken? Right, all right, so whatever. So the financials, wrapping that would feel phenomenal. And then the movie, scenes in the movie, shot, edited, iteration 2, iteration 3, iteration 4, get back into my monthly iteration schedule. And so now we'd be looking at August maybe for iteration 2, and September for 3, and October for 4. Meanwhile, movie studio beginning to be deployed. And all manner of other things are happening. There's so many things kind of cooking right now. I mean, I would say it this way, like in episode 149, there was great motion, there's all kinds of stuff going on that I can feel. The caravan is coming, I can feel it, but there really isn't a lot of, I mean, in some ways, the other stuff that's coming, there's not necessarily a lot of evidence that it's getting closer. Not like this land that's in my life now. That's clearly, boom, there it is. Okay, it's in my life. I got it. Okay. And I know there's a lot more, so much more, that is on its way to me. I can taste it. I can feel it coming. But I don't really have any evidence, hard evidence of anything changing, really, on these other fronts. But I will just say that there is a lot. There is a lot going on. I can feel a lot of movement, metaphorical movement, energy moving, things are shifting. Like again on those waves, the waves, you're sailing over big waves on a Hobie Cat. You go up and you feel heavy as you go up this thing, and then you come zipping down the other side of the crest, changing the sail so you can be ready when you drop into that trough and you're out of the wind, and then you peek up out of that trough, you rise up a little bit, and then you zip your sheet in and grab the wind and fly back up that mountain over and over, heavy and light, heavy and light. I feel that. I feel the waves of something, of change rippling within me. The whole universe is rippling gently, talking, telling me I'm getting the signals. Episode 150, Napkin, daughter of Godcast, Dan Kelly, Shri Fuji split, speaking to you through the rear view mirror of the 2010 Honda Odyssey with the defective doors. Amazing, miraculous stuff. It's so yummy, so tasty, so freaking sweet. I'm using a lot of flavor adjectives right now.
So it's so green and lush and vibrant. It's so silver and shining and radiant and golden red, sunsetty.
Promise of a new day, of an exciting evening coming. It is. Yes, it is. It is.